paglalani. Kaya naman sa itong dati.
Samar Island is the third largest island in the Philippines and has one of the most extensive forest over limestone ecosystems in the country. This ecosystem is home to a wide array of uniquely adapted flora and fauna. Samar Island is known to be one of the centers of botanical diversity in the Philippines and has been nominated as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site for its exceptional natural beauty and precious biodiversity. For these reasons, Conserve Kaigangan, a biodiversity research program, was established. Kaigangan is a Samar local word that means forest over limestone. Our research program's mission is to assess and conserve the biodiversity in Samar Island's forest over limestone towards its sustainable management. One of our program's projects is the assessment of biodiversity and community structure in forest over limestone ecosystems. This component of our research aims to determine plant diversity and vegetation structure in various habitat types in forests over limestone, to determine animal diversity associated with forest over limestone, to identify functional classification of vegetation with its associated animal diversity, and to analyze the environmental factors influencing the prevailing structure of the biota, ranging from threatened to endangered and critically endangered, based on the DENR updated National List of Threatened Philippine Fauna. This knowledge will empower our stakeholders in these areas to make appropriate research-based conservation efforts for the protection of these ecosystems that harbor an assemblage of rare, endemic, and economically important flora and fauna. Through this program, people will be equipped with knowledge on forests over limestone biodiversity, including the ecosystem services that it can offer to the community. We at Conserve Kaigangan continue to further raise awareness and capacitate national and local government agencies, especially local communities, living in and around Samar's Kaigangan.
Welcome to Kaigangan Biodiversity Webinar Series, an initiative of the Conserve Kaigangan program. Now on its fourth phase, the program continues its commitment to advancing research, knowledge sharing, and collaborative efforts in biodiversity conservation.
From March to December 2025, the webinar series featured monthly sessions with researchers and experts sharing insights on limestone forest biodiversity, conservation, and ecological research. These sessions serve as a platform for collaboration among researchers, students, and practitioners. Conservation initiatives. As we move forward, we carry these lessons into the next phase of engagement and discovery. Join us as the Kaigangan Biodiversity Webinar Series continues in 2026, bringing new discussions, fresh perspectives, and further opportunities for learning and collaboration.
Good morning, everyone. Happy July and welcome to the fourth webinar of 2026 for our Conserve Kaigangan webinar series. We're glad to have both familiar faces and new participants joining us today, and thank you for taking the time to be part of this discussion. So it's me again, Ryan Navidad, and I'll be your host for today. As usual, before we begin po, let's have our quick kumustahan. Kindly type in the chat box your name, affiliation, and location so we can acknowledge your presence. Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Let me just read some comments. We have here Sir Joel Montesilio from Penro LGU Davao del Sur. We also have Sir Mark Solito, also from Davao del Sur we also have Ma'am Bernadette Pepito Reyes from LGU Helongos. We also have Sir Marvin Tejada all the way from Qatar. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Grabe, from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, and even international, meron tayong mga participants. We also have Sir Raymond Geronimo from Caraga State University. From Aurora, Sir Ramos. We also have Ma'am Reyma from Southern Leyte. Again, magandang umaga po sa lahat. To those na hindi ko nabasa, welcome po sa ating Conserve Kaigangan. So our webinar series, again, welcome to Conserve Kaigangan, and our webinars are held once a month, so don't forget to stay updated by following our Facebook page for upcoming announcements. So I know all of us po are excited, but before we begin, we want to remind everyone that this webinar is recorded, and with this, please take note of the following rules for our decorum. Number 1, kindly keep your microphones muted, especially po when our speaker is presenting. Next, if you have questions or clarifications during the presentation, please send your questions through the chat box, and we will acknowledge the questions during the open forum. And lastly po, to receive the e-certificate, ito po important since madami nagtatanong lagi, to receive the e-certificate for this event, you will need to complete a quiz. And after submitting the quiz, an evaluation link will appear. Again, please be reminded that you must complete and submit the quiz first before evaluation link will show up. Only after po nito, you will after the completion and submission, the evaluation po, will you be able to receive your e-certificate. Again, certificates will be sent to your email indicated in the evaluation form. And make sure lang din po na tama po yung mga email na ginigay niyo. And now that we've set some ground rules, we can now officially continue with our program. I believe everyone is excited and ready to learn from and listen to our speaker. So before we officially call our guest speaker, let me first introduce him. It's also an honor to welcome someone I've the privilege of knowing personally and professionally. So our speaker is Prof. Pastor L. Malabrigo Jr., a professor of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, specializing in plant taxonomy, marine botany, biodiversity conservation, and forest restoration. Since 2012, he has been serving as curator for trees at the UPLB Museum of Natural History. He has authored over 250 scientific papers, including 13 books on Philippine native trees, including the Shades of Majesty 88 Philippine Native Trees, winner of the 2013 National Book Award and 2014 Gintong Aklat Award. His recent co-authored book, Power in Harmony, Harnessing Energy, Protecting Nature, won Best Publication at the 2025 Philippine Quill Awards by the International Association of Business Communicators. He also co-authored the Biodiversity Assessment and Monitoring System for Terrestrial Ecosystems, now the national standard for protected area monitoring. Prof. Malabrigo is the only Filipino member of the IUCN Global Tree Specialist Group and leads the Red List Assessment of Philippine Endemic and Native Trees. His recognitions include the 2020 CFNR Outstanding Teacher Award, 2020 UPLBA Outstanding Alumnus, the 2023 CFNR Outstanding Research Award, and the 2024 UPLB Outstanding Research Award for Natural Sciences. And lastly, his appointment as UP Scientist 3 for 2024 till 2026. Renowned for his pioneering work in native species restoration, he is widely known as the Indiana Jones of Philippine native trees for his efforts in finding, rescuing, and documenting the country's rarest and most threatened tree species. So,
Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Pastor Malabrigo Jr., who will be sharing his talk entitled From Discovery to Conservation, the Critical Role of Biodiversity Exploration in the Philippines.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the Kaigangan team of IBS, especially Doc Lani Masungsong, for inviting me for today's webinar. For this presentation, I'll be trying to impart to you the critical role of biodiversity exploration in the conservation of Philippine biodiversity. But before I proceed with my presentation, please allow me to turn off my camera to ensure better connectivity and minimize disruptions in case of internet fluctuation. Okay, so this will be the outline of my presentation, but in the interest of time, I'll go straight to my introduction. So to start, let me refresh you all on the biodiversity richness of our country. As you know, despite our small land area, the Philippines is one of the 17 mega-diverse countries in the planet. Our biologists claim that on a per-unit area basis, our country is the most diverse. In all organisms group, be it fauna or flora, the species richness and endemism are exceptionally high. As far as plants are concerned, Philippines is the 25th most plant-rich country in the planet. According to COS Digital Flora of the Philippines, there are more than 9,400 Philippine native plants, and about 46% of which are endemic, meaning no other natural populations outside the Philippines. For those interested in trees, our most comprehensive reference is the Lexicon of the Philippines, which contains 3,084 native tree species. Our own database, however, records a total of 3,283 native tree species. While these figures highlight the remarkable richness of Philippine flora and reinforce our status as a mega-diverse country, they still represent a clear underestimation of true plant diversity. Approximately 20% of the country's mountains remain unexplored, while many of those that have been surveyed are still poorly studied, leaving significant gaps in our understanding of Philippine biodiversity. Unfortunately, our biodiversity faces the highest level of endangerment, making the Philippines one of the 34 biodiversity hotspots. Many conservationists regard the country as the second hottest spot in the planet next to Madagascar. And the single greatest culprit for biodiversity loss is, of course, forest degradation. In the 20th century alone, the Philippines lost 52% of our forests, from 70% in 1900 to just 18.3% by the end of the century. In the 2011 publication of Conservation International, the Philippines ranked fourth among the most threatened forest hotspots. Actually, we are tied for third with Sundaland, with only 7% remaining old-growth forest. However, our forests continue to experience persistent degradation. According to Global Forest Watch, the Philippines lost approximately 196,000 hectares of primary forest, equivalent to about 1.52 million hectares of total tree cover from 2001 to 2024. Notably, deforestation of primary forest peaked in 2022 during the later stage of COVID-19 pandemic, indicating a concerning acceleration of forest loss in the recent years. This is a picture of amazing forest of northern Sierra Madre, which I took while riding a light aircraft from Kawayan going to Palanan, Isabela. This is part of the largest contiguous old-growth forest in the Philippines. And these are some photos of the mountains in the central Luzon, particularly in Caraballo Mountain Range. We can no longer call them forest, as the primary component, the trees, are no longer there. More than 75% of the Philippine biodiversity depends on forest ecosystems for its survival. And with over 93% of the country's primary forests already lost, it is reasonable to infer that countless species have likewise disappeared or experienced severe population decline as their habitats were destroyed. The most recent revisions of the Philippine Red List of Plants identifies 1,237 species as threatened. However, our ongoing Red List assessments of Philippine endemic trees indicate that this figure is likely a substantial underestimate, suggesting that many more native plant species are at risk of extinction than are currently recognized. I'll be going back to this later in my discussion. For now, let's talk about the major botanical explorations in the Philippines. George Joseph Camel is regarded as the father of Philippine botany. He conducted the first systematic study of Philippine medicinal plants and published the earliest scientific account of Philippine flora. I was surprised to learn that he also authored the first scientific description of Philippine birds in 1702. Then here comes Malaspina Expedition, a 5-year global scientific voyage led by Alessandro Malaspina. The botanical team led by Luis Ni and Tadeus Haenke collected approximately 2,400 Philippine plant specimens, greatly expanding knowledge of the country's flora. Then in 1805, Father Francisco Manuel Blanco, a Spanish Augustinian friar, arrived in the Philippines and devoted 4 decades to documenting country's plants. His most important contribution is Flora de Filipinas, the first comprehensive flora of the Philippines, describing over 900 plant species. Although later discovered to confirm numerous taxonomic errors, they provided the first systematic account of Philippine vegetation. You may have noticed that we have a lot of scientific names with authors Blanco and Merrill, wherein si Blanco nasa parenthesis, si Merrill nasa labas. Meaning, itinama o pinalitan ni Merrill yung dating pangalan na binigay ni Blanco. And during the last 5 years of Father Blanco, Youths Coming had his own exploration, visiting most major islands except Palawan. He is regarded as the Prince of Collectors, responsible for the collection of more than 130,000 plant specimens and around 30,000 terrestrial snails and other animals. He discovered and named several orchid species and the first one to ship live orchids from Manila to England. More than 140 plant species were named after him. Perhaps you already encountered some of them: Silogene kumingii, Malotus kumingii, Plocnemia kumingiana, among others. Another scientist who made great contribution to our botanical knowledge is the German ethnologist Fedor Jagor. He visited the Philippines in 1859 to 1860 and focused his collections in Manila, Bulacan, Bataan, Laguna, Bicol, Samar, and Leyte. He collected 345 Philippine plant specimens, now housed mainly in Berlin, and several species were named in his honor, such as the Begonia jagoris, Terculia jagori, Vaccinium jagori, and many more. And just like Cumming, he also contributed important zoological specimens. Actually, he produced a historical book, but not about plants or animals, but it's travel guide in the Philippines, or his book Reisen in den Philippinen. Next is Sebastian Vidal Isuler, a Spanish botanist who served as Inspector General of the Philippine Forestry Bureau from 1871 to 1873. He also served as Director of the Royal Botanic Garden of Manila. He conducted botanical work across Luzon, Panay, Guimaras, Marinduque, Palawan, Samar, and Cebu, and assembled around 14,000 plant collections distributed to major herbaria such as in Kew, Madrid, Italy, Leiden, Geneva, Harvard, and Paris. Apart from several plant species named in his honor, Soler Street in Binondo was also named after him. By the way, have you ever wondered where the Royal Botanic Garden of Manila was located? So unfortunately, the Botanical Garden he once directed, ni Vidal Soler, no longer exists in its original form. It is now the site known as Mehan Garden, situated in the Ermita district of Manila. Next is Auguste Loher, a German botanical pharmacist who resided in the Philippines from 1889. He conducted extensive plant collection in 1889 to 1896, mainly from Luzon, particularly in Rizal, Umiray, Quezon, Nueva Vizcaya, Pulillo, and Mindanao in Lake Mainit, Surigao. He collected more than 5,200 specimens, largely housed at Kew Herbarium. Actually, his specimens form the basis of Merrill's 1925 work describing 41 new Philippine plant species. Numerous taxa were named in his honor, such as Pilea loheri, Tetrastigma loheri, among others. I suppose every botanist knows Elmer Drew Merrill, the author of the landmark An Enumeration of Philippine Flowering Plants, written in 4 volumes from 1923 to 1926, the first comprehensive modern treatment of Philippine flora. Merrill was an American botanist and former director of the Bureau of Science, Manila, described and revised thousands of Philippine plant species, significantly advancing plant taxonomy. Merrill is a typical example of a swivel chair taxonomist. He worked extensively in different herbaria, examining the Philippine plant collections of Vidal, Loher, Cumming, and others. And Merrill was the most influential figure in early 20th century of Philippine plant taxonomy and systematics. Actually, kahit ngayon, no, siya pa rin yung Bible natin, yung enumeration of Philippine flowering plants. Okay, so those were among the very few major botanical explorations ever conducted in the Philippines. So limited in frequency, limited in geographic coverage, and limited in scope. So we all know that the Philippines has a total of 7,641 islands. Of these, only less than 2,000 are habitable and more than 5,000 remain unnamed. If many of the country's islands have yet to be named, one can only imagine how much of their biodiversity remains undocumented and undiscovered. My more than 30 years of conducting biodiversity survey allowed me to discover an average of 15% new province record per study site. And every time we explore an unbotanized mountain, a lot of undescribed species are being discovered. For instance, in Mount Mantalingahan, our explorations in 2019 allowed us to discover at least 10 new plant species. Many of these are still unpublished. In the last 5 years, more than 100 newly described species were made known to science. Here are some of the published new species from Mount Mantalingahan. The Philippine Taxonomic Initiative, if you know this group, no? It's a group of passionate young plant enthusiasts, many of whom do not have formal training in biology. They emerged as one of the country's most prolific contributors to the discovery of new plant species. Since 2020, the group has described and published 35 new species and counting. And here are some of them. And apart from those already published, hundreds are still waiting for publication. Our Mantalingahan team is still waiting for the eventual publication of more new species, including Rafflesia balatokiana. Another unbotanized mountain that we conquer is the Cleopatra Needle Critical Habitat, this time in central Palawan. Here we discovered at least 4 species new to science, including Polyspora purpuriflora, whose manuscript is currently undergoing final revision in response to reviewers' comments. So once formally published, it will become the 4th recognized species of Polyspora in the Philippines and the only species in the country distinguished by its striking purple flowers. A species of Anarinclistus, which will be the 2nd species of the genus in the country. A purple syzygium, which is closely related to Syzygium purpuriflorum, and a purple sirtandra as well. I believe we have more, but we still need to confirm the others. In June 2024, I had the opportunity to discuss with former DNR Secretary Ramon Paje the priorities of the newly established Biodiversity Foundation of the Philippines Incorporated. So we agreed to prioritize a national biodiversity exploration program focused on the country's largely unexplored mountains. This initiative has since evolved into the Biodiversity of Unexplored Mountains in the Philippines program, carrying the tagline or BUMP, we call it BUMP, no? With the tagline, giving um, Philippine mountain biodiversity the much needed bump. And to launch the program, we convened biologists from across the Philippine archipelago in a workshop to identify priority unexplored mountains within their respective islands and secure their commitment to a coordinated national biodiversity exploration initiative. Shown here is the Flora Working Group during the workshop, together with Sir Jaa as our special guest advisor. So we deliberately engaged young botanists, recognizing that their energy, enthusiasm, and capacity for rigorous fieldwork to make them well suited for exploring the country's remote and challenging mountain landscapes. So to align the program with national conservation priorities, we reviewed the list of newly proposed key biodiversity areas and identified those that remain biologically unexplored as priority sites for BFPI's future biodiversity expeditions. We identified 25 priority key biodiversity areas for explorations, 9 in Luzon, 12 in Mindanao, 2 in the Visayas, and 2 in Mimaropa. Our initial goal was to conduct 3 biodiversity expeditions per year, one in its major island group. However, due to logistical delays, particularly in the processing of gratuitous permits, we were able to complete only one expedition in 2025. So the inaugural BUMP expedition was conducted on July 6 to 11, 2025 at Mount Kimalugong in Laur, Nueva Ecija, within the Central Sierra Madre. The expedition brought together 14 biologists from UPLB, Central Luzon State University, and the Philippine Taxonomic Initiative, including 8 plant taxonomists and 6 fauna specialists, supported by 4 students, 2 research assistants, and 18 local guides and porters. So it exemplifies a collaborative effort to document the biodiversity of one of the country's least explored mountain ecosystems. Then earlier this year, we conducted biodiversity explorations in 2 mountains in Biliran, one of the least botanically explored provinces in the Visayan region. The expedition was carried out in collaboration with biologists from PTI, Biliran Province State University, and the University of the Philippines, Tacloban. Our first destination was Mount Suiro, the province's highest peak, rising to approximately 1,300 meters above sea level. After a day of rest, we proceeded to the opposite side of the province to explore Mount Kamalubagoan, which rises to 1,280 meters above sea level. Although slightly lower in elevation than Mount Suiro, the mountain proved far more challenging, as even the local residents has never reached its summit. So with no existing trail, our team had to establish the route ourselves, making the ascent significantly more challenging. More recently, we conducted our latest exploration in Mount Tungog, Malitbog, Bukidnon, with a peak elevation of 1,810 meters above sea level. The expedition was undertaken in collaboration with biologists from NTFP, PTI, Marawi State University, University of Southern Mindanao, Central Mindanao University, Museum Natural de Histoire Naturelle, and Sorbonne University from France. So this represents our largest field delegation so far, comprising 32 biologists, 2 research assistants, 8 students, and 32 local guides working across all major taxonomic groups. No? So we cover all the organism groups, vascular plants, ferns and mosses, vertebrate and invertebrate fauna, and even freshwater organisms. Okay, so how valuable are these biodiversity explorations? So unlike conventional floristic or opportunistic surveys, our expeditions follow the standardized biodiversity assessment and monitoring system methodology as prescribed by the BMB. So we established nested vegetation plots at 250-meter elevational, 250-meter distance along a continuous transect extending from the lowest forested elevation to the mountain summit. So from kung saan magsimula yung forest, magsisimula kami ng transect doon, then dire-diretso na yung transect up to the summit. So this systematic approach enable us to comprehensively document biodiversity pattern and ecological changes across the entire elevational gradient. So as a result, we were able to characterize the mountain's forest formation and identify the dominant species associated with it. So let's take the case of Mount Kimalugong. Our exploration revealed 4 distinct forest formation along its elevational gradient. Tropical lower evergreen rainforest from 800 to 1,100. Broadleaf tropical lower mountain rainforest from 1,100 to 1,500. Then a pine forest from 1,500 to 1,600. And finally, mossy forest extending from 1,600 to the summit. So further, we were able to document the dominant species for its forest formation. Shurea contorta, Vaticamanga chipuy, and Calophyllum blancoi dominates the canopy of the tropical lowland evergreen rainforest. While for the understory, Strubilantes floriformis, Discocalix philippinensis, and Pycnarena maniliensis are some of the most abundant species. The broadleaf tropical lower mountain rainforest is dominated by Shurea polisperma, Pangile, Lithocarpus jordanei, one of our oak. That's why tropical lower mountain rainforest or the broadleaf is also known as Tangili oak forest. Then under story for the tropical lower mountain rainforest, we have the dominant species such as Wickstremia lanceolata, Medinilla multiflora, and Berberis philippinensis. Of course, the pine forest is overly dominated by the native pine, Pinus cassia variety langbianensis. For the tropical upper mountain rainforest or the mossy forest, the dominant species are Myrsine avinis, Rhododendron vidalii, Medinilla mindorensis, among others. And our explorations also resulted to discovery of at least 5 undescribed species. This is only in Mount Kimalugong, including 2 new Coryba species from Orchidaceae. This will be the 11th species of Corybas. We are about to submit the manuscript for this species to a taxonomic journal. And here's another Corybas species, the 12th Corybas species in the country. A new Astronia species which is closely related to Astronia elaterinervis of West Papua with its non-triner leaves. Then Psychotria, a new Psychotria species closely related to Psychotria cordatula. A fern species from Polypodiaceae, which according to our pteridologist could be a new fern genus. For Biliran exploration in Mount Suiro and Mount Camalabagoan, at least 6 new species. A new species of Escinanthus, closely related to Escinanthus philippinensis. A species of Sonerilla, which is affiliated to Sonerilla woodii. A glabrous purple-flowered Sertandra, which is very unique for the genus. Another begonia species. And a magnolia species with smooth, non-coriaceous texture. As well as a Bulbophyllum species. And these are just some of the undescribed species that we have already recognized. We are confident that many more await discovery as we continue examining and identifying the collected specimens. The collections from Mount Tungog have not yet been fully sorted, but our preliminary assessment suggests that they may contain at least 10 species new to science. So indeed, as more of the Philippines unexplored mountains and islands are systematically surveyed, the biodiversity of the Philippines will continue to increase. Our botanical explorations also allowed us to update understanding of species distribution and range extinction. We recorded at least 350 plant species. Around 15% are new province record. Shown here are some Philippine endemic species that represent new provincial records as well, highlighting the value of biodiversity exploration in improving our understanding of species distribution and informing conservation priorities. One of the most remarkable findings from our survey is the sympatric occurrence of two Rafflesia species, Rafflesia panchuana and Rafflesia consueloi, growing side by side within the same habitat. So these are buds of two different species. The smaller white one belong to Rafflesia consueloi, and the bigger reddish one belong to Rafflesia panchuana. So this rare coexistence provides valuable insights into the ecology, distribution, and evolutionary relationship of these extraordinary parasitic plants. One of the primary goals of the BAMP program is to advance scientific knowledge and education. To ensure that all collections are conducted legally and ethically, we consistently secure the necessary gratuitous permits and transport permits, allowing us to collect specimens and prepare herbarium vouchers that will serve as permanent references for future research, conservation, and biodiversity monitoring. We also actively disseminate the results of our biodiversity explorations through scientific conference and webinars such as this. So last year I was invited to present the BAMP program at the annual Society of Filipino Foresters Convention. So in addition, the program continues to generate scientific outputs, and we are now ready to submit manuscripts describing two new species to international taxonomic journals. Our preliminary assessment of the Mount Kimalugong collections documented 19 threatened species listed under either the Philippine Red List or the IUCN Red List. So these findings provide important baseline information for conservation planning, biodiversity management, and prioritization. Botanical explorations do more than document the presence of endemic and threatened species. They provide the population and distribution data needed to accurately assess a species conservation status. As summarized in this IUCN Red List criteria, which are likewise adopted under the DNR Administrative Order 2026-20 or the Philippine Red List, all assessment criteria rely on robust information on population size, distribution, and trends. Without continued botanical exploration, conservation assessment would remain heavily dependent on the limited data generated by the relatively few expeditions conducted in the past. Our experience in Binhi program. I'm sure marami sa inyo familiar sa Binhi program ng EDC, no? We search the populations for planting propagules of our 96 priority native tree species, no? So we significantly improve our understanding on the conservation status of several threatened Philippine trees. For example, prior to Binhi, this species, Mapilig or Santosteumon bracteatus, was known from only two populations, in Samar and Camarines Norte. And it was consequently classified as critically endangered in the 2007 Philippine Red List. However, after 7 years of botanical explorations, we documented 9 additional populations across several provinces. So based on the IUCN Red List criteria, this new distributional evidence support a revised conservation assessment of vulnerable, which we subsequently submitted to IUCN and was officially published in 2018. A similar case applies to Bago Adlaw, Santosteumon philippinensis. It was previously known only from Samar and Cam Norte, but through the Binhi program, we documented 10 additional populations across the country. So we assessed the species as vulnerable, and the assessment was subsequently published by the IUCN. Unfortunately, despite the publication of these new distribution records and the updated global assessment by IUCN, both Santostemon philippinensis and Santostemon bracteatus remain listed as critically endangered in the current Philippine Red List. In recognition of Binhi's botanical exploration initiatives, the Botanic Conservation International, the main actor when it comes to IUCN red listing, they partnered with an Energy Development Corporation in 2019 to undertake IUCN red list assessment of Philippine endemics and near endemic tree species. So as mentioned earlier, I am leading the global tree assessment team for the Philippines. Our assessment revealed striking discrepancy between the global and national threat assessment. So of the 1,665 species we have evaluated, with approximately 1,500 already published on the IUCN Red List, 69% are classified as threatened with extinction, whereas the Philippine Red List recognized only about 10% of the same species as threatened. What is more worrying is that 87% were assessed as OWS in Philippine Red List, meaning other wildlife species, which is equivalent of least concern. Look at that, 1,449 out of the 1,665 species were assessed as OWS. And of the 373 species we assessed as critically endangered, 328 were categorized as OWS or other wildlife species. So these are species that are known to exist only in one location, and therefore it should be automatically categorized as critically endangered based on population size. We also have to remember that unlike IUCN Red List, our Philippine Red List is not just a law. No, it's not just a list but a law rather. So under Section 14 of DAO 2026-20, collection or trade of those species listed in the Red List constitute a crime. So with many of our true threatened species listed as other wildlife species or least concern, the extinction of our endemic species is being aggravated by wrong conservation prioritization. Now, this is the most important part. How can we use this information for biodiversity conservation? So starting up with our IUCN Red List assessment, we can select those critically endangered species and make them the flagship species of the province where they naturally occur. The CENRO or PENRO should mainstream them in any planting activities, be it urban landscaping or forest restoration. Actually, I've been advocating this for decades now. So if EDC can do it for Binhi, I believe DNR has more capability as they have jurisdiction of all our forest. So of the 373 critically endangered species in our assessment, 282 are province endemic, meaning only found in one province. The most responsible people to prevent these species from extinction are the PENRO and the CENRO of these provinces. And Palawan has the most number of critically endangered species. This is precisely the direction that Energy Development Corporation continues to pursue. So our work has not ended with red list assessments. We are now implementing phase 3 of the Binhi program, focusing on 49 additional priority species for conservation. These are critically endangered trees known from only a single locality or province. So we identified the 4 provinces with the highest concentrations of province endemic critically endangered species. And these are Palawan, Davao, Samar, and Ilocos. As our priority landscape since 2002, since 2022, we have been conducting extensive targeted population surveys in these provinces to locate remaining populations and generate the scientific information needed to guide effective conservation actions. Let me share our progress on the priority species in Davao. So the province is home to 14 binhi priority species, many of which have not been documented in the wild for more than a century. As shown here, the last recorded collections of most of these species date back over 100 years, underscoring the urgent need for renewed botanical exploration and field verification. This highlights the invaluable role of herbarium specimens in botanical exploration. For many of these species, historical herbarium collections, most of which were made and deposited over 100 years ago, serve as our reliable reference for species identification and for relocating the remaining wild populations. No? So ito lang yung reference namin for identification. At yung mga information on the field notes, siya yung ginamit namin para ma-trace back kung saan ba sila makikita. After 6 botanical expeditions in the Davao region, we are pleased to successfully redocumented 12 out of the 14 priority species, confirming that this taxa is still extant and not yet extinct in the wild. Here are some of them, the first 6, and here are the remaining 6 species which we were fortunate to document during their flowering or fruiting stages. This represents the first verified field photographs of this taxa and now serve as important additional reference for future taxonomic and conservation studies. Unfortunately, we were unable to relocate individuals of 2 species during our surveys. Kibatalia longifolia was last collected in Balutacay, Santa Cruz, Davao del Sur in 1919, while Villaria acutifolia was recorded in Padada, Davao del Sur in 1905. Both records originated from low elevation habitats. Today, these municipalities have largely lost their remaining forest cover due to extensive land use conversion, particularly for banana plantations. Actually, wala na talagang gubat sa lower elevations nitong Davao del Sur. No? In the absence of recent sightings despite targeted surveys, this species may warrant classification as potentially extinct. Actually, natag na namin to sa IUCN Red List na PE, CRPE, meaning critically endangered, potentially extinct. Okay, so I hope that by this point, there is a clearer appreciation of the critical role that biodiversity exploration plays in species conservation. To secure a sustainable future, it is therefore essential that we continue and expand systematic biological explorations, as this provide the foundational knowledge needed for effective conservation and informed decision making. However, there is another pressing concern facing our country. Taxonomists in the Philippines are arguably becoming more endangered than the Philippine eagle, despite their equally critical role in conservation science. As aptly highlighted in a Nature article published in September 2024, we must train specialists in botany and zoology or risk more devastating extinctions. Failure to fund education in taxonomy could derail efforts to support conservation in low and middle income countries. And for the concluding message, I would like to reiterate that botanical exploration forms the foundation of plant science, conservation, and sustainable resource use. Without systematic exploration and documentation, we cannot effectively safeguard biodiversity, nor can we fully understand and harness the ecological, cultural, and economic values of plant diversity. With that, thank you all for listening.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Malabrillo, for that truly insightful and inspiring presentation. Today, you took us on a fascinating journey through Philippines' extraordinary biodiversity, from country's major biodiversity exploration to the countless hidden treasures that remain undocumented, and the remarkable biological richness of our still unexplored mountains. So it reminded us that despite the Philippines being recognized as a mega diverse country, there is still so much left to discover, study, and conserve. So we hope today's discussion inspires all of us to continue supporting scientific research and to become stronger advocates for biodiversity conservation. Okay, at this juncture, we will now proceed to the question and answer portion. So, Sir Pat, you may open your camera. To our audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or type them in the chat box and kindly introduce yourself and your affiliation before stating your question. Okay, while you are doing so, allow me to read some questions we got from the pre-registration. Pero to all the audience po, feel free to type in your questions. So, Sir Pat, we have pre-reg questions from Iris Ekalar of DNR. So, what are the most effective ways to involve local residents in protecting native species without compromising their daily livelihoods?
Okay, yeah. Thank you for the question, though it's very tough. Uh, so involving local communities for the conservation, no? So we only need uh, to make them appreciate the value of the species, the value of the biodiversity they have. In fact, one of the major problems that many of the stakeholders do not know what they have. No, once they know that they have this kind of species that are endemics to their area, and that should be their pride for the community. I think there's no reason for them to not to be involved in the conservation.
Thank you, sir. We have someone is raising their hand, Sir Steven. You may now speak. Naka-mute yan.
Hello po, good morning po sir. Marinig niyo po ako sir.
Yes, yes, rinig naman. Oo.
Yes po. Good morning Dr. Pat. Good morning everyone. My courtesy respect to all the present here, my colleagues here. I'm Steven Jantano Meliendez from Sultan Kudarat State University, province of Sultan Kudarat, a researcher and a research assistant one. Thank you so much, Dr. Pat, because I like this one because nakaka-relate talaga ko sa mga sa doings mo and achievements mo po, and I want to highlight it also that isa po ako sa mga tagahangan niyo po with more than 250 na publish siya po. Wow, so wow, thank you po and palakpakan po natin. Sir Pat, meron po akong dalawang tanong po, directly po. The first one is, before setting this what I mean is, before setting this idea, before setting this to a discovery, what comes in your mind before you decided to be in the biodiversity field po, sir? And for number two, what is your parang advice to our young researchers in the academe to be more encouraged, particularly po doon sa pag-explore ng ating biodiversity, and what are your future recommendations on it po? Because I know some of the participants also is a student and maybe someday magiging guest speaker kagaya nitong webinar ngayong umaga po. Thank you po, Dr. Pat, and muli po magandang umaga po sa ating lahat po.
Okay, thanks, Steven, for the compliment. And your questions are very much related, ano? How did I become like this, no? Passionate with plants, at ano yung pwede kong ipayo for the young generations, especially those in the academe. Isa lang, ano? Just make yourself associated with the forest. So ako kasi bata pa, nasa Mount Makiling na ako, ano. So that's why alam ko yung ah, alam ko yung benefits na pwedeng makuha sa mga halaman, no? And then when you have that uh, when you have that interest on plants, patuloy at patuloy pa lang yan eh. Hindi ka makukuntento. For instance, makakita ka ng isang halaman na hindi mo kilala. So, ang gagawin mo diyan, magse-search ka ng mga literature para malaman mo kung anong pangalan niya. So, just make yourself, kumbaga, ilubog mo sa gubat yung iyong sarili. No? Yun lang at palagay ko everything will follow.
Okay, thank you, Sir Steven. Since we are running out of time, we will just entertain last two questions po. But if you have questions, feel free to message our page. So last two questions, we have here from Sir Ralph Ortaleza. Sabi po niya, good day, Dr. Malabrigo. He's a BS Meteorology graduate from Central Luzon State University. Considering the increasing impacts of climate change on Philippine ecosystems, how can meteorologists and biodiversity experts work together to develop more effective conservation strategies? Also, what specific meteorological information do you think is currently underutilized in biodiversity conservation?
Okay, another tough question, ano? So, meteorologist. So, probably meteorologists and conservationists or biodiversity experts can help each other by, for instance, the meteorologists will know where the different catastrophic events could hit, and then this is where the biodiversity experts and even the conservation people should focus their conservation efforts. And the biodiversity experts the will have the great or will help a lot because we know what particular species can withstand such event or such calamity. So I think that's the uh, that's the that's the best way where the meteorologists and conservationists can help each other.
Thank you, sir. So, sorry, last question na po tayo from Sir Marvin Tejada. Does conservation synonymous with protection? So if that's so, do you think that INAIPA's law and wildlife law in our country benchmarks necessary protection for these areas as no-touch zones to disallow multiple use for protected areas? Because under IUCN's charter, did the Philippines identified OECMs to include additional areas for conservation efforts?
Okay, so somehow ginagamit synonymously yung conservation and protection. But conservation is a more, kumbaga, more complex, no? Complex thing because for conservation you need to include the people. You need to include the people. For protection, you can protect it by strictly not allowing people to go inside. But they should go hand in hand. In fact, if you will only think of biodiversity, then protection should be protection could be enough. But if you're going to take into account the people in the protected area, alam naman natin halos lahat ng PAs natin may upland community. So you need to have strategies for the people to embrace the protection, going to the conservation of the forest or of the ecosystem.
Okay, so maraming salamat po. Again, sorry po dun sa mga di na namin ma-entertain na questions. You can just message our page and try po namin sagutin. And yun po, since we're running out of time, we will now proceed na po with the awarding of the certificate. Once again, Dr. Pat, thank you very much po sa inyong presentation. So let me just read the citation. University of the Philippines Los Baños Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Dr. Pastor El Malabrigo for serving as the resource speaker during the webinar presentation entitled From Discovery to Conservation, the Critical Role of Biodiversity Exploration in the Philippines, Kaigangan Biodiversity Webinar Series held on 6th of July 2026 via Zoom. Signed by Maria Celeste and Manitikla Hilario. So again, maraming salamat po, Sir Pat.
Yes.
And before we formally close today's program, we are pleased to announce our next webinar. Our next webinar will feature Dr. Inocencio Ibuot Jr., the visionary behind and founding mind of the Conserve Kaigangan program, our very own mentor whose passion for biodiversity conservation continues to inspire our work. So he'll be speaking on the planetary crisis on global karst landscape, finding solutions through engaging community conservation. You can join us on August 10, 10 a.m. for engaging discussion on the pressing challenges facing the karst landscape. So again, maraming salamat po for all of us here na nandito pa. Kindly open your cameras for photo op. Okay lang po, mag-photo op lang po muna tayo. Okay, wait lang po.
Okay, so everybody, we invite to open up your cameras and again, sige, heart react lang po tayo, and of course, let's give a warm clap to Doc Pat Malabrigo for his very comprehensive presentation. Okay, let me just have a quick screenshot. So smile lang po everyone because we have 6 slides po today. Okay, smile. Right, save ko lang po saglit. For those whose cameras are not working, sige, react lang po kayo. Okay, next slide. Smile lang po. Smile and react. Next. Next. Okay, last 2. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Again, maraming salamat po sa lahat ng attend. Before you leave, for those who are asking about the attendance certificate, again, please don't forget to scan the QR code or visit the link shown on your screen for our quiz form. So, isi-send din po sa chat box. So, the link is also provided. So, after answering the quiz, you will also find the evaluation form link. So, sa thank you configuration. So, again, no quiz, no evaluation, no certificate. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us today. Sir Pat, maraming salamat po. And see you guys in our next webinar and enjoy the rest of the day. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sir.